People are changing. My name is Bill. Welcome to the Night Terrors Weekend Show. And we're starting right now. My Banned by YouTube series drops an episode every Wednesday morning. YouTube says take down 3 years of your videos. They're no longer on the channel. The only way you can see them is to catch them on Wednesday. If you value what I do on the live shows and in the Night Terrors videos, one way to support the channel is through Patreon. Become a patron of the show by clicking on the Patreon link in the description below. Thank you for supporting the show. Welcome to Eldergrown and Takahama Plateau. Welcome to Green Tea and Gotcha Man. Let's get started. Here at livenowfox.com. Welcome to Tiagox. Tiagox says, yo, it looks like an advertisement. Stuck in, peak P, revs it up, remove space, at O2U. I think we'll just block that advertiser. How do I do that? Over here. And blocky, or ban. Let's just ban them instead. And we're good. Goodbye to the ads. Ronald Rex has arrived. David Bryce Jr. is here. Good evening, David. Elder says, yeah, that's a bot. Yeah, that's a bot. And this is a suggestion from Elder, written by the Fox TV digital team and entitled, Aliens May Be Living Among Us, Disguised as Humans. Harvard researchers claim. And the team begins. Elder, thank you for the super chat. Elder says, time for Night Terrors with Bill. Good topic from Rhino Rex. Thank you, Rhino. Let me just move that into position. Blah, blah, blah. Let me just X out here. Uh-oh. That's a medium. I don't know if we can get anything on medium. We'll try. Frog Fan has arrived. Welcome, Frog Fan. Welcome, Brooke Birch. Zerithian says hello to everyone. And Shane Riley has arrived. Let's X out here. We have to move this over. And we're going to right after that point there. Okay, I think we're all set. Right there. All right. And the team begins a paper written by research scientists at Harvard University. Suggest aliens could be living underground or on the moon, or even walking among us and posing as humans. The paper, which has not been peer-reviewed, looks at the newer, unconventional theory called the CryptoTerrestrial hypothesis. It was written by researchers with Harvard's Human Flourishing Program, but a note at the top of the report calls it a thought piece and emphasized that it's not affiliated with Harvard. The paper states, we would also like to emphasize we believe this to be merit of scientific investigation. According to the paper, scientific discussion around unidentified aerial phenomena, the new acronym for UFOs, which is UAP, has been dominated by two main classifications. Human technology of conventional terrestrial origin or extraterrestrial origin. Civilizations arriving from somewhere other than Earth. Did I welcome Green Tea? Welcome Green Tea. Sorry if I'm late on that one. Researchers have since considered a more unorthodox set of theories. The ultra-terrestrial hypothesis. Included in this subset of theories is the cryptoterrestrial hypothesis, exploring the possibility of non-human intelligence currently living among us, either concealed underground or underwater, or disguising themselves as ourselves. The paper states, first, it is increasingly apparent that UAP are not only aerial, but can also move underwater. We've seen it, folks. In ways that, per their airborne counterparts, defy explanation. The authors cite retired Air Force Major David Grush and retired Navy Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who've argued there's a long list of strange occurrences underwater, acting in ways that surpass human technology and even challenge scientific understanding of what is possible under the sea. The researchers also point to the empirical mystery around UAP sightings, often involving orbs that appear to enter or exit potential underground access points like volcanoes. The authors, who include 2 Harvard researchers and a biological anthropology professor from Montana University, wrote that although this idea is likely to be regarded skeptically by most, such is the nature of some UAP, that we argue this possibility should not be dismissed, but instead deserves genuine consideration in the spirit of epistemic humility and openness, whatever that means. The caption here reading, a UFO variety was photographed when it hovered for 15 minutes near Holloman Air Development Center in New Mexico. The object was photographed by a government employee and released by the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization after careful study. There is no conventional explanation for the object, and no date either. The article continues. Thank you, Elder. Nick Pope, who ran the British government's UFO program, told Fox News Digital he sees the paper more as an experiment rather than true scientific research. Zerithian says more and more each day, the idea of alien life present here becomes common knowledge. What a wild time in which we live. T. Plateau says, on our way home now, we passed a zone of silence here in the Henderson area. The car radio went out. My phone turned off. It was like we stepped into another dimension. And the team continues. Looks like with more debunky stuff, perhaps. I mean, this guy's arguing against Harvard. The Pentagon denies having any evidence of extraterrestrial life on Earth, even though we've seen the photographic evidence from the Navy. A Pentagon study released in March examined reported sightings of UFOs. Eldergone says, I guess Australia, in which T. Plateau resides, has a neutral zone. The Defense Department's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office reviewed nearly 80 years of reports on government offices and special access programs related to UAP. In July of 2023, Grush, the retired Air Force major, testified publicly before a congressional committee, claiming the U.S. has concealed a multi-decade program to collect and reverse engineer alien technology. Part of what the U.S. has recovered, Grush testified, were non-human biologics, which he said he had not seen, but learned about from people with direct knowledge of the program. The Pentagon denied his claims. Still, Grush's testimony energized believers in extraterrestrial life, producing headlines around the world. Kirkpatrick said he and the Pentagon painstakingly put together a team. I don't remember who Kirkpatrick is. Or who is Kirkpatrick? Yeah, not seeing Kirkpatrick. Let's search for Kirk here real quick. 3 mentions. Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the Pentagon official who led efforts to centralize UFO investigations. Dissed them. What's that, the third one? No, it's the first one. Well, that's who Kirk is. Kirkpatrick said he and the Pentagon painstakingly put together a team to create a science-based strategy of investigating UFOs. That can't be all there is to the article, is that it? Well, considering there's 4 million ads here. Oh, and that's a gross one. Welcome, Jim Simmons. The prodigal son returns. Welcome, Jimmy. I see it's mostly a vehicle. Thank you, Gotcha Man. Gotcha Man has a report on the debunker. Brooke Birch says, so Bill comes on Sunday morning for you, T-Plateau. It's Saturday evening here in the States. T-Plateau relates Henderson, the silent zone, is in an industrial area in Australia. So that may be it. But it's Sunday, and this is a long weekend. It's the King's birthday. There's the Pentagon debunker. What kind of dirt can we find on him? Career intelligence work. Let's just call him a bureaucrat. Thank you, G-Man. Next up at 12 minutes past the hour. At curiosmos.com. Yeah, that's what it is, Curiosmos. There's a story written by Justin Gurkinnick. Is it Gurkinnick? Gurkinnick. Justin Gurkinnick. G-Man calls the bureaucrat the anti-Lazar. I wouldn't be surprised. Entitled Lake Baikal is the Earth's oldest lake and possibly its strangest. Lake Baikal. How do you say that? Let's ask AI. We need a dragon for this. Let's open the dragon. Where's the damn dragon? I am not seeing it, and that is not good. There it is. How does one pronounce? And we'll plug in Lake Baikal here. Baikal. Lake Baikal. Call like doll, but with a clear ah sound. A clearer ah sound. Lake Baikal. Mr. Mackey, welcome. Mr. Mackey just arriving. I have an ancestor named Mackey. From New Jersey. And Mr. Gurkinnick begins. Lake Baikal is Earth's oldest and deepest lake, but it's also one of its strangest, with decades of unexplained sightings, vanishing boats, and rumors of Soviet cover-ups. Mr. Mackey says, my clan is a vast one. Frog Fan says, Australia's getting a day off for Elvis's birthday. Lake Baikal in southern Siberia holds more water than any other freshwater lake in the world. Its depth of over 1,600 meters. And its age estimated at up to 30 million years. Make it both the oldest and deepest lake on the planet. It contains 20% of the world's unfrozen fresh water. 20%. More than all the 5 Great Lakes combined. But beneath its crystal clear surface lies something even more intriguing than its geological history. A record of unusual sightings, unexplained disappearances, and long-standing stories of strange encounters never fully explained. Elder Grown with Dragon GIFs. Thank you, Elder. Beneath the crystal clear surface lies something even more intriguing. I read that already. Lake Baikal has long been a sacred place for locals. Described in folklore as alive or self-aware. Yet in recent decades, attention has shifted from ancient legends to modern mysteries, including glowing orbs, unexplained ship vanishings, and strange figures encountered underwater. No caption here. I'm assuming this is a satellite photo of the lake. Oh, this is the frozen lake. Oh, I heard about this story. There was a strange circular pattern on the top of the lake when it was frozen. Huh. James Anderson says hi. Hailing from Taft, California. Welcome, James. Cosmonauts saw massive circles on the ice from space. In 2009, Russian astronauts aboard the International Space Station observed enormous circular patterns on Lake Baikal's frozen surface. The images, later published by NASA, showed great rings spanning several kilometers. No official explanation was ever confirmed. Green Tea says, some think the circles come from the aliens seen by the divers. There's your CryptoTerrestrial there. Hidden aliens on the planet Earth. Kabar has arrived. Kabar says all is self-aware if you pay attention. NASA speculated that convection currents, warm water rising from the depths, could be responsible. Convection currents separated by a kilometer? Yeah, right. Some researchers pointed to hydrothermal activity beneath the lake, but the rings appeared in deep areas not known for volcanic heat flow. The result is a mystery still debated today. Lake Baikal is known for its rapid ice cover changes. Extreme winter cold. Well, they did say Siberia, right? Although it's southern Siberia, where northern Siberia goes to for their summer vacations. And occasional geothermal vents, all of which can cause natural sea anemones. You're welcome, Kabar. But patterns of that size, visible from orbit, remain unusual even by Siberian standards. No kidding. By anybody's standard. The lake's strange reputation deepened in '82 during a Soviet military diving expedition. According to a Russian historian, Alexei Tivanenko, 7 divers were conducting a routine training exercise at about 50 meters of depth when they encountered humanoid beings, described as 3 meters tall, wearing tight-fitting suits and helmets. The divers tried to capture the entities, but the mission went wrong. Several were injured during an emergency ascent, and at least 1 diver reportedly expired. The Soviet military has never officially acknowledged the event, especially because they no longer exist. That my own editorial addition. And I lost the thread. And to be honest, writes the author, I believe this is just one of those attention-grabbing conspiracies. Well, let's find out. These stories are usually rather interesting. Let's see if we can find it. Several were injured. 1 diver reportedly unalived. Kabar says probably the Siberian shamans playing their instruments. Let's see how smart AI is. I'm looking for the original Russian edition of this story. And we'll plug in the description here. Go. I was unable to locate a published Russian primary source of the story, which exactly the version you describe. Here's what I found. The story is widely circulated, often attributing it to historian Alexei Tivanenko. A version of the story appears in Russian media. That's the one I wanted. About humanoids on Baikal. They must mean in Baikal. Good evening, Verpine. Some Russian publications treat it as part of a broader repertory of Soviet paranormal narratives. The story is also mentioned in popular semi-journalistic texts by Vladimir Azaza, a known Russian diver and ufologist. Gotcha Man says, speaking of Soviet technology. Oh, thank you, Gotcha Man. Oh, beautiful. We have a suggestion, it looks like number 5 in the list now. Let's drag this over to about here. Is that in the right order? Almost. I'm going to put it here. All right. Thank you, G-Man. Trying to get back to number 2. There it is. No, we're doing a search, right, on ChatGPT. But I did not find a recently cited academic publication. I didn't ask for an academic publication. Okay, let's go to the source. It's right here. It's in Russian. We'll do a translation. You can find a chapter entitled in a compilation. Oh, wait, where's the one? A version of the story appears in Russian media. That's the one I want to see. Okay. Will it translate for us? No idea what these words mean. Do they have a link to the source? Because evidently they're crediting before it's news. Here's a generic before it's news link, possibly. Let's open in a new tab. Oh, maybe this is the Russian version of before it's news. Must be. Which was first? First was the Russian version. Okay, we need a translation of this. Let's grab the text. including the headline. This is at Russian.rt.com, and we may soon see by whom it is written. Bring it over to the translate. That may be here. All right, we get 5,000 characters, it looks like. Keep your fingers crossed. Welcome, Pedro Rojas Cervantes. No author given. Just says short link underneath it. Declassified documents reveal humanoids at the bottom of Lake Baikal. The Russian Navy has declassified documents describing sailors' encounters with aliens. Ostensibly, this is the original report, folks. In one report, submariners report trying in vain to escape unidentified objects, traveling at 400 kilometers per hour. And in 1982, military divers saw humanoids in silver diving suits at the bottom of Lake Baikal, according to Before It's News. Declassified documents reveal humanoids at the bottom of Lake Baikal. And there's a... Oh, that's just a photo credit. Let's see if it actually is at Before It's News. We'll just search for Baikal. There's the name of Azaza. So we use that to search. Vladimir Azaza. Use Azaza to search at the U.S. Before It's News, because they would have a link to the original Russian. Let's just duplicate this real quick. Go to Before It's News. Try this. There it is. Later, dude. And search. Azaza. 0 results. Maybe it is not here. Vladimir will probably pull up a whole bunch, so we'll just skip that point. This may be the original article. The media rarely report on unidentified underwater objects, or UFOs. In Russia, that is. The Russian Navy has declassified documents describing encounters with unidentified objects that were technologically superior to Earth-based vehicles. This information was collected during the Soviet era, describing unexplained incidents involving Soviet submarines and warships. According to former naval officer and renowned ufologist Vladimir Azaza, the materials are extremely valuable. Quote, 50% of UFO encounters are associated with the ocean. More than 15 are associated with lakes. So UFOs clearly gravitate toward water. The ufologist says, welcome, Diane Min. You're most welcome, Diane. Before It's News recounts some of these encounters. A Soviet nuclear submarine, while on a military mission in the Pacific Ocean, detected 6 unidentified objects. The crew was unable to evade them, and the captain ordered the submarine to the surface. The objects followed the submarine, then took off and flew away. Getting away from Baikal, the Baikal story here. Ocean, ocean. Lake Baikal is another place where UFOs have frequently been seen. Fishermen report seeing bright lights in the depths and objects appearing directly from the water. I assume they mean rising. This is only a Google translation after all. In 1982, military divers were training on Lake Baikal. At a depth of 50 meters, they saw humanoids in silver suits. When the divers attempted to capture them, 3 of the soldiers were unalived, and 4 were seriously injured. Vladimir Azaza does not rule out the existence of underwater alien bases. Do a deeper search. Do a deeper search. Do not require academic publication or reliably cited works. Thinking longer for a better answer. Go back to the article. The Soviet military has never officially acknowledged the event. However, the conspiracy doesn't stop there. Stories of bizarre underwater encounters are not limited to that incident at Lake Baikal. Kabar says their sonar tech is gradually destroying the whales, dolphins, the entire sea, to their benefit only. Thank you, Kabar. In 1977, scientists V. Alexandrov and G. Seleristov explored the lake's floor. 1.5 clicks down. More than 1.5 clicks. In a submersible. At a depth of 1.2 kilometers. They saw what appeared to be a powerful beam of light approaching their vessel. The sub lost power. Temporarily. Only after the beam vanished did their systems return to normal. These stories form a consistent pattern in Lake Baikal's long history of strange phenomena. Some reports have been included in declassified Soviet documents, suggesting the military did take the sightings seriously, even if they remained silent to the public. Big surprise there. One of the most widely shared sightings took place near the village of Kerma in 1987. Valery Rudenshtovsky, a local resident, described what he and 12 others saw that night. Quote, "There were 13 of us. At about 12:20 a.m. on April the 17th, one of our guys went out into the yard. A few seconds later, he runs in and calls all of us out. He stood in the center of the yard and pointed his finger at the sky. Diagonally from his gesture, 150 yards above us, hung a huge flying craft. Saucer-shaped. From the center of the plate went a phosphorescent purple ray. At the edges of the plate were yellow portholes, almost like those of our rural houses. I imagine he means the effect you would see of houses lit from the inside. The diameter of the saucer was 70 meters. We saw it so clearly and for so long a time, someone even suggested that a stone be thrown at it. The quote continues. The weather was amazingly quiet. No sound was heard from the hanging saucer. There was a full moon and the visibility was so clear that none of us doubted the reality of what we saw. The craft drifted along the shore and then vanished into the hills. Rudenshtovsky and others claimed that sightings like these weren't rare. Local hunters and fishermen described similar events, including glowing spheres or disc-shaped objects rising from the lake's surface and shooting into the sky. The caption here, the frozen waters of Lake Baikal, Siberia. I wonder at what height that is. It doesn't look like it's very high. It looks maybe from a plane or maybe from standing. I've seen striations like that before in the frozen Lake George here in New York State. And that's fairly close to the, that's fairly close. There's nothing in here for scale. That, if I had to guess, that's someone standing on the ice taking a photograph. Because that's what they look like at that range. Lake Baikal's mysteries are not limited to flying objects. In 2011, a boat named Yamaha left the village of Kabansk with 4 experienced sailors on board. They were testing a new engine and remained well within cell phone range. But shortly after entering a fog bank, all contact was lost, and the boat disappeared completely. Despite extensive search and rescue efforts, no wreckage or bodies were ever found. The lake was calm, the weather uneventful. The boat had modern equipment. The disappearance remains unexplained. Such vanishings have fueled the lake's reputation as a kind of Siberian Bermuda Triangle. Stories of ships going missing. Pedro says any real advances in applied science or technology is sequestered for the system lords of the breakaway society. Deep, Pedro. Very deep. I like it. Eldergone says, I kind of doubt they named the boat Yamaha. I'm guessing they think that was its name because it was written on the motor. Yeah, well, over there it'd be Yamahaski. Stories of ships going missing and objects materializing on the surface are common. Some locals even claim to have seen castles or trains appear on the frozen lake. In cold regions like Siberia, light may bend across layers of warm and cool air. Lake Baikal continues to attract scientists, adventurers, and mystery seekers alike. For those who've seen its secrets up close, the explanations, if they exist, remain buried deep beneath the ice. But at some point it does thaw, because if there's boats out there, right? It does thaw at some point. How about deep beneath the waters? That would include ice, I would think. Because it's not going to freeze all the way to the bottom. Next up at 39 minutes past the hour. Get out of there, dragon. I think I'm going to go directly to Huska Castle, the Gates of Hell. This one is good. I'm going to move that to here. Yeah, let's do Huska next. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this one. Medium is, I think I remember medium.com as being a place where they, yeah, no. Where they, oh, not this one. Okay. I guess we get to read this one. I thought Medium had a, what do you call it? Some kind of gateway, whatever it's called. Not anymore, apparently. Anyway, here's a story by Commander K entitled Huska Castle, The Gates of Hell. Zerthian asks, did you change browsers? Well, I set it to dark mode. So, no, I'm still using... What is this browser? I'm still using Chrome. I don't want to be using Chrome. But I'm still using Chrome. It's just it's the #1 browser. It's probably foolish to use it because of its near total lack of privacy. You know, we did Huska very recently. Like, if not last week, then the week before. So, I think with apologies to Green Tea, we did Huska very recently. Green Tea says, quite a few months ago, I posted on Discord how to read articles behind a subscribe screen. Good idea. Yeah, I know the tricks. Sometimes the tricks don't work, though. So with apologies to Green Tea, we're going to go to the reincarnation case next. If that was Green Tea's, I have no idea anymore. I forget immediately. Here at sciencyclopedia.spr.ac.uk is an article entitled James Leninger. Eldergrown suggests the Brave browser. Yes, I'm using Brave for searches now. That's another change that I made recently. James Leninger is the subject of a well-known American child reincarnation case. In early childhood, James had frequent nightmares of being trapped on a burning plane. The plane was crashing. In further statements to his parents, he said he'd been shot down in a plane near Iwo Jima, and he'd been based on a ship named Natoma, and he had a friend named Jack Larson. These and other details were found to match closely with the life of James Houston, Jr., an American pilot, KIA, in March 1945. That was Rhino Rex topic. My apologies to Rhino Rex. Thank you, Green Tea. James' parents wrote a best-selling book about their investigation, and the case received widespread media coverage. James Madison Leninger was born in 1998 in San Francisco, so now he'd be 27. To Bruce Leninger, a human resource exec. And Andrea Leninger, a resume writer, homemaker, and former professional dancer. The family moved shortly thereafter to Dallas, Texas, and then to Lafayette, Louisiana. James' expressions of past life memory manifested mostly between the ages of 2 and 5, followed the move to Lafayette. The combination of his detailed memories and the ability of his parents to verify them through painstaking research makes this a particularly interesting case, and it's one of the best known of its kind. When James was 22 months, as reported by his folks, his father took him to the James Cavanaugh Flight Museum in Dallas. He was transfixed by the sight of World War II planes, and at the end of the visit, he had to be forced to leave. The terrible twos. And then when passing a toy shop when James was just shy of 2 years old, well, 22 months is shy of 2 years old, his mother noticed a display bin filled with plastic toys and boats. By the way, when they visited that World War II flight museum, Did the kid happen to read, the 2-year-old kid happen to read any of the placards that were assigned to the planes? What if we can get inside that museum? James Cavanaugh Flight Museum in Dallas. Maybe they have a virtual tour or something. Do they have each plane with a placard? Let's check it out. I mean, at 22 months, what can you do to remember? Unless you have an eidetic memory, which is what they now call, what we used to call, a photographic memory. Welcome, Ryu 1972. So let's go to a regular search. It's going to be here at Brave in dark mode. The whole browser's in dark mode. Forgot to turn off the dragon, of course. Flight Museum in Dallas. Cavanaugh Flight Museum home. We need to see. Oh, wow. It's a kind of a minimal webpage here. Home, collections, Facebook, collections, aircraft. Gotcha Man did a little research. Gotcha Man tells us Andrea was a ballet dancer and not a stripper. I was going to say something, but I don't want to insult her memory. She's probably still alive, would imagine, if their kid's only 27. Which is what I always assume when someone says they're a professional dancer. Zerithian says his wife can remember things from 2 years of age. And her mother confirms that. Wow. Oh, yeah, I probably have some 2-year-old memories. In particular, I never liked beans from when I was a very little kid. And when you're a kid, you know, especially when you're a young kid, you got to clean your plate. But I would gag. They're too mushy for me. I don't like the texture. Even when I buy chili in a can, I buy it chili no beans. Can't stand the taste of beans. That I remember from about 2 years old. Eldergrown doesn't like beans either. Yes. Okay, here's what did he drive again? What did he drive? What did he fly? He flew a what? In a plane, it just says. Memories. Look, there's even a bomb underneath it, he said. This is the kid. No, that's the mother. Look, there's even a bomb underneath it. The kid replied, that's not a Bob. That's not what you said, Mommy. That's a drop tank. Talking about this with her husband later, she learned that a drop tank is an extra fuel tank fitted to an aircraft to extend its range. So it would be all planes with a drop tank, I guess. Did they ever give the name of the plane? Here we go. His name had been James. He had flown a Corsair. All right, let's check out Corsair here. And that's going to be... Where is that going to be? Right here, right? No, where is that? Probably... And I lost it. Where the heck did it go? We asked ChatGPT, right? No, that's the pronunciation, last one. I've totally lost the thread. I'm just going to go through one after another till I find it. No, we did the search, right? Yeah, here it is. No, the search was, that was the search. There it is. Why is it way over here? It should be like, should be right here. Okay. Corsair. Just search for Corsair. Control F. Corsair. There it is. Any more? 19 mentions. 19 of them. Check out the first one. They show pictures from inside the museum. Do they have placards? Looks like a viewing stand there next to that machine. Open image in new tab. This is going to be really bad resolution, folks. You can go up and examine the planes. I don't see any placards, though. So if they don't have them there, I forgot to count my clicks here. Again, please. Oh, they're all in here? Is that all 17 mentions? Is that the only Corsair? No, here's another one. From Nam. Any pictures? Negative. That's only the mention number 14. And then 3 more is 17. While deployed aboard. Do they have information here about this Corsair? The famous gull-wing design of the Corsair makes the plane one of the most distinctive fighters of World War II. Designed and built by Chance Vaught. The Corsair prototype was first flew in 1940. It was the world's first single-engine fighter capable of speeds over 400 miles per hour. Thank you, T. Plateau, for the jewels. Much appreciated, ma'am. Welcome, Tina Tomaszewski. Tina is one of the original gangsters of Night Terrors. Welcome, Tina T. It doesn't give any engagement details, though, from what I'm speed reading here. Yeah, no, to have one. No, that's it. But at least from the one picture we have. World War II aircraft. Let's see if we can catch another one real quick. A picture from inside the museum. We're talking inside here. Negative. Well, here's one. How about that? Or how boot that? Here we go. Airplane commander listed. Crew chief. So on the sides of the planes, I imagine if known. Of course, their plane crashed, right? Their plane crashed, so. All right. Shortly after turning 2, James began having nightmares, as often as 5 times a week. So I guess we can't prove that he got it from the museum. In which he would scream and kick his legs in the air, crying, "Airplane crash, plane on fire, little man can't get out." At 28 months, in response to questions, he told his parents the little man was himself and his plane had been shot down by the Japanese. 2 weeks later, he added more details. His name had been James. He had flown a Corsair, and he had flown from a boat whose name he gave as Natoma, which, despite the Japanese, he insisted was American. Over the next 3 months, James added that he had a friend, a fellow pilot named Jack Larson, and that he had been shot down near Iwo Jima. I wonder if they were both on the same plane. In play, James crashed his toy planes into furniture, breaking off the propellers. He also began expressing his memories in art, obsessively drawing naval aerial battles between Americans and the Japanese, in which planes were burning and crashing, bullets and bombs exploding all around. These were always World War II scenes with propeller-driven aircraft. No jets, no missiles. He named the American aircraft correctly as Wildcats or Corsairs and referred to Japanese planes as Zeeks and Bettys, explaining that the boy's name referred to fighter planes and the girl's name to bombers, which is correct. He sometimes signed the drawings James III, and when asked why, he said he was James III, an apparent reference to him following James Houston Jr., that is, the second. James Houston Jr. the second. Okay, I get it. That's weird, man. Not only is he reincarnated, he seems to have some of the personality of the James Jr. inside of him. When buckling himself into the back of the car, he would often mime putting on headgear, a movement that his mother recognized during a visit to a local air show, when he mounted the cockpit of a Piper Cub and put on the pilot's headgear. As a devout Christian, his father, Bruce Leniger, was uncomfortable with the idea of reincarnation, but began to research his son's statements in the firm hope of ruling it out. He was already aware that the Corsair was an American World War II plane. Searching the internet, he discovered that the USS Natoma Bay was an aircraft carrier that served in the Pacific in World War II, taking part in the Iwo Jima operation, and that a pilot named Jack Larson had been based on the ship. He began to approach Natoma Bay veterans, who gave him information. An initial candidate for James' memories, Jack Larson, turned out, however, not to have been killed in action. Attention was then shifted to James McCready Houston Jr. of Pennsylvania, who had been killed near Iwo Jima at age 21, and whose life James' statement seemed to match. An exception was that Houston was shot down in a Wildcat, not a Corsair. Veterans could recall no Corsairs on Natoma Bay. Nor could the details of James' account of the plane being shot down be confirmed. However, a visit to Houston's sister, Ann Barron, uncovered a photograph of Houston standing in front of a Corsair, confirming he had flown this aircraft. Clinching testimony came from eyewitnesses who had seen the plane was hit in the engine. It exploded in a ball of fire before crashing, confirming James' account. A unit logbook recorded the crash, and it can be viewed online. Scroll to page 32. There's a hot link here. Why did it disappear? I had a hot link, but it disappeared. Open link in new tab. Open link in new window. I don't know why it didn't open up. I mean, it should have opened up as an Adobe thing. Anyway, page 32. I'm gonna have to expand this somewhat. Welcome, Juju. Okay, page 32. Where's the page numbers, people? Blah, blah, blah. Be near search, right? Is there a search magnifying glass anywhere? There's a magnifying glass for Zoom. Where the heck is search? Suppose we go down like this. Oh, there. Page 32 is not at page 32 anyway. There's 32. On the 16th day at Iwo Jima, the 3rd of March, 1945. Oh, it was eventful. It opened with a strike on the reported concentration of large enemy transports. 8 FM2s from this squadron participated in the attack. And the FM2 is the Corsair, right? No, the Corsair, this is called the FG-1D. But beginning with F, it could be the Corsair. Where'd that go? It's like now its own thing. Why do we have a red dot? Red dot is not good. Or does red dot mean recording? Hopefully it means recording. Never noticed that before. Where's that article? Where is it? Oh, it's in browser form. Right. So where is it? Right here. Okay. They made 3 attacks, on the first firing rockets at the shipping, and on the second and third attacking anti-aircraft positions to protect the torpedo bombers which were following. Where is the thing? Where's the little line? There it is. The shipping was identified as one medium transport vessel and a small class freighter. Damage was observed. On the first attack, as the fighters were retiring toward the entrance to Fatami Harbor, the FM-2, piloted by Lieutenant J.G. Houston, was apparently hit by anti-aircraft fire. The plane went into a 45-degree dive and crashed into the water just inside the harbor. It exploded on impact, and there was no survivor or wreckage afloat. He was one of the squadron's better pilots. He was quiet and unassuming, always alert, and his keen eyes tally-hoed everything within sight. Tally-hoed. What does that mean? His keen eyes tally-hoed. Well, by context, garnered. His keen eyes garnered everything within sight. He was always the first to sight aircraft and shipping. He tally-hoed the only submarine sighted by the squadron. He was credited with the destruction of 4 airborne enemy aircraft. And that's the guy that was reincarnated. You can't top that. You cannot top that. Next up at 4 minutes past the hour. We come to a story at bigthink.com. I'm seeing no author. You can go away. No offer whatsoever. Is that a Substack? I don't see it at Substack. Probably just a Substack ad. We have a link here from Eldergrown. This must be that particular plane. Thank you, Elder. This must be the Corsair. What a beauty. This one, probably not outfit for a military engagement, but who knows? All right, back to it. Here's a story by Anonymous entitled A Soviet Doctor's Wild Experiment to Create Hybrid Human-Ape Super Warriors. So they have a link to the original Soviet article. Two tags. And there's a message from Green Tea about tally-ho. Green Tea says, tally-ho is the traditional cry made by the huntsman to tell others the quarry has been sighted. Cool. Thank you, Green Tea. Related. That's too bad. There is hot link here, but that's a separate story. It's researchers who collected accounts by searching Russian archives. Let's see what that link saith. See, Eldergone link. I just did the Eldergone link, didn't I? Welcome, Max Monroe. Okay, so that's open here. Beyond Species, experiments on crossbreeding humans with anthropoid apes. Is that the guy, Ilya Ivanov? Is that the guy? Is that the scientist's name? Yes. Okay, so let's go here to try to find the original source first. Published online by Cambridge University Press. Now, we may not find it here. Or we may. What do they call the synopsis again? The, I forget. There's a name for it. Argument. Oh, abstract they call it. It's right here, the abstract. I believe that some pollutions, and this is at cambridge.org, Kirill Vasilyanov writing. Elder got it. And Kirill writes, I believe that some pollutions are used as analogies for expressing a general view of the social order. Mary Douglas, Purity and Danger. The possibility of crossing humans with other anthropoid species has been discussed in fiction as well as in scientific literature in the 20th century. Professor Ilya Ivanov's attempts to achieve this was crucial for the beginning of organized primate research in the Soviet Union, and remains one of the most interesting and controversial experiments that was ever done on non-human primates. The possibility of removing the boundary that separates humans from other animal species, apes in particular, is loaded with important political meaning and violates ethical taboos. The history of Ivanov's scientific experiment thus helps to reveal some of the 20th century's important cultural conventions and hidden assumptions about human nature. Welcome, Synchro 505. Michael provides all the incidental music for the show. Going back to the article. The concept of man-beast hybrids, or chimeras, has long fascinated humanity. with ancient tales and modern films exploring the tension between our rational and animalistic sides. In the early 20th century, Soviet scientist Ilya Ivanov attempted to create a human-chimpanzee hybrid. First in French Guinea, and later in the USSR. French Guinea? That French Guiana? Despite advancements in science, with a viable human-monkey embryo created as recently as 2019. Oh, really? A viable human/monkey embryo created. The moral and ethical concerns surrounding human-animal hybridization remains a barrier. You don't say. Why does it begin with The Wicker Man? The 1973 film The Wicker Man is one of the most quietly disturbing movies. One reason is that it features people dressed in animal masks. They appear from time to time, often just standing there in silence, watching you, the viewer. Seeing a fully grown man wearing a fish head should be comical, but in The Wicker Man, few in the audience are laughing. Eldergrown says, it's a human-Z. What if chimeras were not just fiction? What if we could make these monsters? That's the story of Ilya Ivanov. There are a lot of animal hybrids, and people are mostly okay with them. We mixed tigers and lions. They're called ligers. We mixed bison with cows. They're called beefaloes. We mixed camels and llamas. They're called commas. Mules, a mix of horses and donkeys, have been used as working animals in agriculture for centuries, for millennia. So in the early 20th century, when naturalists suggested the idea of a human-chimpanzee hybrid, they were surprised by how ferocious the media and public outrage was. Early 20th century, huh? How early we talking? While the idea scandalized Europeans, and their governments banned its research, the Soviet Union had no such compunction. We're going to take a short break now. Just a short break. I have to find my shoes. And I have something prepared for this short break. Courtesy of Gotcha Man. And where is that? Been waiting for the opportunity to use this. And here it is. This is with the permission of Gotcha Man. I love the special effect. Nice. All right, that was only the first minute. We'll have to do the other minutes another day. But wow. I couldn't hear the sound, but I imagine it was the traffic noise speeded up. That must have been cool. I'm going to have to watch this show afterwards. Aldegrone says, it's 15 minutes past the hour. Do you know where your children are? I mean, sorry. Do you know where your shoes are? Oh, it was a synth track. Thank you, Synchro. Hope that was some Creative Commons there, G-Man. All right, back to it. While the idea scandalized Europeans and their governments banned its research, the Soviet Union had no such compunction. There's a now discredited urban myth, and in the 1920s, Joseph Stalin was obsessed with populating his armies with half-human, half-ape super warriors. It was said he wanted a Planet of the Apes-style army, dressed in red, to barrel across Europe. Who else dresses in red? He wanted no such thing as far as we know. But we do know, thanks largely to researchers who collected accounts by searching Russian archives, is that under Stalin's rule, the first known experiments into creating a human-ape hybrid took place. In the confused tumult of the Soviet Union's early years, money was short. Suspicion of academia was rife, and permission to leave was rarely given. Yeah, the old days of the Iron Curtain. So getting a scientific study funded was pretty hard. Into this came Ilya Ivanov. Ivanov had spent time studying biology in Paris, and his work on artificial insemination had massively benefited Russian agriculture in breeding resilient horses. Resilient from what? Resilient to what? Breeding more resilient horses. In what ways resilient? From 1910, Ivanov became fixated on the idea of a human-ape hybrid. He argued that hybrids would be stronger. Well, a chimpanzee is I think something like 10 times stronger than a man. Got a little shadfly here in the studio. I think a chimpanzee is like 10 times longer, at least in arm strength. I believe it is. Yeah, they'll knock you. They'll knock you for one. Don't teach them how to box. They would be stronger, more intelligent, and more resistant to disease than either humans or animals. It was Ivanov who saw potential for super warriors. But he was wily. Aldegrone confirms, chimps will rip your face off. Synchro suggests horses perhaps best adapted for the cold or for disease. Ivanov knew that this alone would not get him the funding he needed, so he branded his study differently. Vladimir Lenin, Leon Trotsky, and their new USSR government were not only pro-communist but also aggressively anti-religious. They hated everything religious. So Ivanov branded his research as a win for aesthetic humanism against the church. If humans could make human-animal hybrids, they would be gods who could control their own evolution. Eden would be a trifle when seen against the brilliance of Soviet labs. Moscow loved it. And so, with $10,000 and a travel permit, Ivanov set off for Africa. It doesn't give a date. Ivanov's plan was simple. Head over to French Guinea. I guess it is French Guinea. Never heard of French Guinea. Let's see where it is. French Guiana, of course, the place that once imprisoned Papillon. My grandmother read Papillon. In the original French, I imagine. No search results for French Guinea. What? French Guinea. French Guinea. There we go. No search results. Well, it gives me a recent search. Oh, that's recent searches. This says Guinea. Okay. Juju agrees that, yes, a chimpanzee will rip off your face, and they're strong as all heck. Okay, here's the French embassy there now. I guess it's not French Guinea anymore. Where is it? What is it now? It's just called Guinea now. Where is it? Zoom out. What is it, an island? A peninsula? Peninsula of what? I never heard of these places. What's the name of that sea? Oh, that's Africa, right? Is it? Sierra Leone, Guinea. It's big. It's got to be Africa. Liberia. Yeah. Guinea's big. Huh. French Guinea, huh? Elder Grown confirms. Thank you, Elder. Back to it. If I can find it. Ivanov's plan was simple. Head over to French Guinea, grab some apes, and pay local women to get on board. But there was one big problem. The women weren't having it. No, I don't know. Ivanov had not considered the social factors at play. West African folklore at the time featured stories of women being carried away by apes and essayed. These women were ostracized by their communities. Wait, there's folklore. But then there were real women who were ostracized? How about these women would be ostracized by their communities? So in a place where your community meant life or death, no woman would sign up, no matter how much Ivanov offered. His second plan was to get men from his team. Oh. Who were kept anonymous, but were of proven virility to donate sperm. Oh, good, it's not natural. Ivanov would then inseminate all the female chimpanzees he could find. The problem with this, however, is that chimps are hard to find, harder to catch, and harder yet to keep. In spite of this, he found lucky 13 chimpanzees. Lucky's my editorial note. And set about his artificial insemination. After several months, there were no viable pregnancies. Zero human-Z gestation at all. By now, Ivanov was desperate. Not only did he have a theory he wanted to prove, but he'd been gifted $10,000 from a notoriously gulag-friendly government to spend. So he changed his tack. He decided to... Oh, my goodness gracious. He decided to inseminate women against their will, under the guise of gynecological examination. Thankfully for everyone, the French authorities found out about it and sent Ivanov home. Hopefully before it happened. Back in the USSR. Good song. That's no way that's going to get a copyright match either. Undeterred, Ivanov carried on. He arranged for 20 chimps to be sent to Russia. Only 4 surviving the journey. In Russia, there was no hope of paying women to accept ape insemination. Not to mention he had dwindling funds. So he called for any women to offer their bodies in the name of science. There was one respondent. This volunteer, whom we know only as G, wrote this to Ivanov. Dear Professor, Mystery Flavor says, in Soviet Union, monkey make you. Dear Professor, with my private life in ruins, I don't see any sense in my further existence. But when I think that I could do a service for science, I feel courage to contact you. I beg you don't refuse me. I ask you to accept me for the experiment. End quote. Even by the standards of the time, it's clear that G sounds mentally unwell. There was likely little to or no informed consent involved in her participation. What's more, the experiment came to nothing. By now, Ivanov was a dangerous embarrassment. He had dragged his chimerical experiments all over the world, only to be mocked and reviled in equal measure. And so in 1930, Ivanov was arrested in a purge of scientists and sent to Kazakhstan. He died 2 years later. Well, he wasn't very adaptable, was he? I try to be. I've been prepping. And the show's going to get a sponsor, too. The show has a sponsor now. I just haven't got around to making up the thing. The show has a prep safe sponsor. Anyway. Thank you, Rhinorex. Ivanov's story does not necessarily end there. The search for Human-Z hybrids goes on. In 2019, a team of scientists from the US and China and Spain created a human-monkey embryo that was viable for 20 days. Then it was destroyed. All research into similar chimeras these days includes a failsafe that means they will never reach full gestation. Today, human-animal hybridization is still a huge taboo. The difference, though, is that science is catching up. And it may be the case that only the taboo prevents it from happening. Good story. Juju says, that's a pretty good Soviet bill. Thank you. I've been practicing. Next up at 30 minutes past the hour. Check out my ice cube. Unveiling the Enigma, the Bosnian Pyramids. This at themondotravel.com. And a suggestion by Eldergrown. We have an author. Pyramids in Bosnia. Where's Bosnia? No, we want a new search. How do we get rid of this? Just go backwards? That'll work. Bosnia. Okay, it's parallel to Italy, evidently. There's Bosnia and Herzegovina. Where is it? It's right here for zoom out. Borders Croatia and Montenegro and Serbia. And I wish I knew this name of this here. This is the Adriatic Sea. Do they actually border the sea, though? Can we drag this map? Yeah. Do they have a seaport? Are they landlocked? Hard to tell from these lines. But there is a separation here which appears to show access to the sea only here. Is this another country? Or is that just a natural feature like a river? Oh, those are political demarcations, right? Yeah. So yeah, only here. So they do have access. Good movie, Gotcha Man. And I'm going to give a spoiler for this because I was very disappointed in the movie called John Dies at the End. Gotcha Man says John Dies at the End was a sci-fi book/movie where someone like him was successful. Things go badly. Oh, hybridization? I didn't remember that part. But don't worry, John doesn't die in the end. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for spoiling it for us. I was waiting the whole movie to see John die at the end. Maybe the end of his life, but it wasn't covered by the movie. Maybe by the book. And where were we? There we go. Something like pyramids in Bosnia would, at best, evoke a tolerant smile, most often a mocking or even arrogant comment. Until recently. Now dismissing it out of hand is no longer fashionable. More and more respected experts, archaeologists, Egyptologists. Look at that mountain right there. That looks like a dang pyramid. Physicists, geologists, and global media have come to Visoko, where these pyramids are located. It's easily accessible by road, 30 kilometers northwest of Sarajevo's capital. No, it's not Sarajevo's capital. Sarajevo's like, I don't understand, but I do want to find it. Maybe they mean the capital Sarajevo. So where's the name of that place? Visoko. Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Aha. Let's see it from the air. It's not this huge thing, is it? Let's close in. Other way. Sumsko Sons Visoko. No idea what that means. Pyramid of the Sun. Natural pyramids and tourist attraction. More than one. Did the Google car get here? It did. I wonder if we can take a look at the front of that tourist attraction. Looks like this is the farthest you can go right here. Of course, the buildings are shaped like pyramids, too. Not in the best state of repair. Dirt road. That looks like... Well, they must have flags there or something, huh? Yeah, a bunch of flags are standing here. You can't see them because they're all in a row. But there's shadows right here on the road. Is he right? Oh, there we go. There's the signs, right? The signs are not here. The signs are back there. Very low res there. More than one. There's another one there. Can we zoom in on this? Zoom in. We can. Welcome to the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Huh. What's that other one say? Thank you, Tina. We have to escape from this, I guess. Let's try right... this is turned around somehow. No, I think we were right... Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. No, we were right here. Yeah, okay. So let's go right about here. No. Let's try here. Still no. I want to see that sign. Am I going the wrong direction? I don't think so. That's the end of the road. What about from here? Well, we're getting closer. Do it the old-fashioned way. Looks like advertisements. No, maybe not. Huh. Wish there was more better resolution. How about a search for pictures of the Bosnian? Can I copy that? No. I'll have to write it out. Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Another low res. But that's the one. That's the pyramid. It looks pretty big. How come we didn't see it from the air? Wait a minute. Is that an artist's interpretation? Looks like the village almost wraps around it. And yet, it can't be seen from the air. Where is it? Zoom out a bit. Not finding it. Unless, wait a second. That looks like a triangular shape. Yeah, maybe this is it right here. With the old town of Visoki at the very top. Are either of these marked? Negative. Samir Osmanagic has devoted all of his efforts, including his finances, to research of the pyramids. He serves as the director of the Foundation for the Archaeological Park, Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Additionally, Osmanagic is a member of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences, with 30 years of experience studying pyramids. He holds 2 degrees and earned his doctorate with a thesis asserting that the Mayan civilization predates the Olmec. That's an interesting claim. I thought the Olmec were older. And had contact with a Chinese civilization. In the immediate aftermath of the announcement that there might be pyramids in Visoko, a wave of protests was unleashed against him. Petitions from world and Bosnian intellectuals began circulating, calling for an immediate halt to research. Because Osmanagic and his team were ridiculing the country. History Channel has published several reports about the phenomenon in Visoko. Even National Geographic sparked additional controversy with the documentary in which 2 experts claimed that the mounds were again of natural origin. In short, the Valley of the Pyramids in Visoko is covered by the nonprofit and non-political organization, the Foundation for the Archaeological Park. And it is becoming a boiling point, an intersection of 2 streams of science. The traditional and the one that allows blasphemous thought that perhaps the history of the human race needs some refreshing. Those historical textbooks will need to be rewritten because of the pyramid complex in Visoko and an increasing number of archaeological findings that do not align with the dogmas of official history. Ultimately, the Bosnian pyramids remain a subject of great debate. Some experts find the evidence intriguing and believe further research is warranted. In any case, it has captured the imagination of people worldwide. Next up at 45 minutes past the hour. At hauntedrooms.co.uk. There's an article entitled The 8 Spookiest Real Ghost Sightings. Latest ghost sightings caught on camera. Number 8. Monet's Ghost. You have probably heard of Monet. I have. If it's the, what was that? What's his, it's not surrealist. Impressionist. Monet was an impressionist painter. In one of the most interesting real ghost sightings we've ever come across. Is there an author here? This was posted, blah, 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 negative. Monet was apparently snapped at the Cleveland Museum of Art while they were holding an exhibit dedicated to the French painter. The director of architecture at the museum was simply taking photographs of the interior and ended up snapping a photo of this rather snazzy-looking chap who resembles Monet himself. Perhaps he was returning to take a look around the exhibit. Of course, there was no one on the balcony at the time the photo was taken. Let's check that out closer, huh? That is freaky, man. It's an impressionist version of Monet. What did Monet look like? Oh, yeah, there's that long beard. No kidding. You gotta be kidding me. There he is. I wonder if that's the style of clothing that was around at the time, with the overcoat being that length. Huh. Whoa. Number 7. Leeds General Infirmary. That is kind of spooky. Let's take a close look. Skirt with more than one layer. Looks like a double exposure. One of the earliest, what would one say? How did I miss the article? Oh, it's still here. One of the earliest methods of faking a ghost. Hospitals are well known to be spooky places, particularly at night. It might not be one of the most well-known sightings in the UK, but this was taken at Leeds General Infirmary, showing a nurse or child fleeing into a room in a hospital corridor. He took the photograph as a way to simply show his girlfriend where he was in the hospital, as he worked there every day. So you take a picture of a hallway for your girlfriend? Not knowing what the photograph showed until he viewed it more closely. Andrew had always been skeptical about ghosts, but seeing this figure changed his mind. T. Plateau says, when I was in a hospital at the Bridget Clancy ward, I saw Sister Bridget herself, walking around in her nun outfit. I swear she came in while I was sleeping, and she watched me for a while. Cool. Mike says, so spooky, those hospital ghost videos with wheelchairs and gurneys rolling around on their own. Number 6. Ghost of a New Home. Really? And that is from where? Here? Let's check this out. Where is that place that this man supposedly is? There's nose and eyes. Hairline. Where is it from? Right, one of these windows. Oh, this window over here, which, of course, they don't show. It's only a part of the complete photograph, part of the complete mock-up. Okay. Looking for more ghost sightings in the UK? This photo, taken by Michelle Midwinter in England, was simply a way for her to share an image of her new house with family and friends. This guy that has dark hair, though, this guy does not. So she'd gone outside, snapped a photo, and returned to the inside of the house when she noticed the face staring back at her from the bottom right window of the house. You can clearly see a nose, eyes, and shoulders. I don't know if that's shoulders. If the nose and the eyes are there, the shoulders are going to be underneath, unless he's bending over. The face of a man staring back at her. That is the Tina Tomaszewski alarm. Well, it's time to call it but. You don't have to go home. You can follow Tina over to Peter McCarthy because he's live in 6.5 minutes on YouTube at the channel Dark Sayings. So don't forget to catch my special video on Wednesday. And join us again next Saturday. Until then, may God bless and protect us all.